Greetings, comrades. This is Andre Aguides Desjardins from Modern Horizons 3 Cracker Pack. Now, I was at the pre-release yesterday, but I had to leave to go to a wedding. So, we are going very high on the theory today. Alright. Here we go with a Corrupted Shapeshifter. It's a blue in 3 colors for star, devoid. As it draws a shapeshifter, as it enters the battlefield, it becomes your choice of a 3/3 creature with flying, a 2/5 with vigilance, or a 0/2 with 0/12 with defender. Even with the large Eldrazi, I want to know where, I really want to see where you make this a 0/12 defender. I'm going to guess 80% of the time it's going to be the 3/3 flyer, 18% of the time is the 2/5 with Vig, and then maybe 2% of the time is the 0/12 with Defender. This is like C, perfectly playable. In other formats, I might say the versatility makes it a C+, but this is a higher level format, so this is a C, or maybe even a C-. Alright. Nightshade Dryad is a green and a colorless, 1/2 Death Touch, tap for colorless, and tap to add 1 mana of any color. I think this card is very strong. Green definitely has some ramp adjacent colors. It allows you to splash for your powerful rares and mythics, which you're going to be getting. And as a 1/2 Death Touch, it then just trades off later, or earlier if you need it to. Excuse me, probably C+. I really like this card. Alright. Refurbished Familiar. Sorry, it should go over here. Refurbished Familiar is a black and 3 colors for a 2/1 zombie rat. Aw, poor rat. With affinity for artifacts, flying, and when it enters the battlefield, each opponent discards a card. For each opponent who draws a card. I, again, really like this card. I shouldn't say I really like it, but I think it's playable. I think it's C. You don't even need to have it discounted or anything. Like, 4 mana for a 2/1 that makes them discard a card or you draw a card is just fine. Yeah, I think that's just fine. I think that's a C. But I'm not taking it over the Nightshade Dryad. Alright, Restcoat Knight. 1 white, 4 colorless for a 3/4 Vigilance Human Knight. When there's the battlefield, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may reveal an artifact or enchantment card from among them and put them in your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library in any order. If you didn't, you put a +1/+1 counter on the knight. With this, a 4 or 5 Vigilance for 5 isn't bad, but I really want to draw the artifact or enchantment. There's a couple of artifacts and enchantment are in white. C-, you're not looking to play this. If you have a bunch of artifacts or enchantments, you can bump it up to playable. Actually, I'm going to say, D. But I could be wrong, and in certain decks it's going to be like a C+. But I think you should start this as a D. And if you have lots of artifacts or enchantments, especially good ones you want to get, you know it. Void Prouncer. 1 in red for 3/1. Starting off good. Kicker for 2 generic and a colorless. And if it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2 +1/+1 counters and a trample counter on it with haste, but not a haste counter. And there are haste counters, I believe. Yeah, I think this is a C, maybe C+ card. I like both modes on it. Both modes are a pretty good rate. I still think I'm on Nightshade Dryad over it, but if there is a very good aggressive deck, I might be wrong. Okay. Shattered Landscape. It's land, taps for colorless. You can sacrifice search library for a basic mountain, plains, or swamp card and put it on the battlefield tap, then shuffle. And it has cycling for the basic lands. It can go fine. These help enable the devoid and colorless functions. They're just good mana fixing. And then later on, if your mana is great, you can just cycle them. I think these are C+ cards. Even if you only are doing 2 of the colors, I think this is a fine card to play just as a mana fixer. C+ card, yeah. Obviously, some colors are going to be better than other. So, same thing. This is the same thing, but it's Naya colors. Same comments. Alright. Ether Petromander. Oh, I love Petromanders. Aww. It's 1 black for 1/1 flyer. It can only block creatures with flying. That's not a problem. And black and 6 colorless. Adapt 4. This ability costs 1 less for each artifact you control. So, just what I've heard, the red-black artifact deck is really good if there's only one person drafting it. Otherwise, it's not very good. It probably can't support 2 players. There aren't actually that many common red and black artifacts. I wouldn't first pick this, as adapting for 7 mana is really a nightmare. And like a 1/1 flyer that can only block creatures with flying isn't that great. So I start this as like a D, and then if you know you're in the artifact deck, like if your first pick, for example, the cranial plating or some good black-red rare and have a couple of artifacts, then you know you're going to want this. Then it pop in the artifact, red-black artifact deck, this is like a C+, B-. But I'm not starting this. Alright, next up, Twisted Riddle Keeper, 8 colorless, with one of my favorite mechanics, Emerge. For 5, a blue and a colorless, and you can cast for its Emerge cost by sacrificing a creature, and then it discounts the CMC by the creature's mana value in colorless. So this normally costs 7, but if you sacked a 3-drop creature, it would cost 4. So when you cast this spell, tap up to 2 target permanents, put a stun counter on each of them. Ooh, that says permanents. So you can, in theory, actually tap down your opponent's land. So I'm not sure about this format, but if there are 3 drops that have a good enter the battlefield or sacrifice effect, this is a very high pick, because you play that, you get your value from the 3 drop, and then you play this thing. You could tap down their blocker or one of their lands or 2 of their lands or whatever for a couple of turns. Think this is a C+. I would consider playing this, and you can also do it at 8 mana. It's fine. The green-blue, as far as I know, is the Eldrazi deck, so I would consider this. We're going to consider this one. Alright. Blood-Soaked Insight is 5 colorless and red, black, hybrid. So that's a lot. Sorcery. It's cost 1 less to cast for each 1 life your opponent lost this turn. Okay, that can greatly discount it. And target opponent exiles top 3 cards of the library until the end of your next turn. You may play those cards. If you cast a spell this way, mana of any type can be spent to cast it. Till the end of your next turn. Okay, so you have 2 turns to do it. That makes this infinitely more playable. Still don't think it's a great spell, because casting opponent's cards, you don't always get what you want. And then on the back, it's a land that taps for black and red. From Battle for Zendikar, I really like these cards a lot. I was asked, what do people think? So I've heard a lot of people say, if you have like 3 of these cards, build your deck with, count them all as lands and build your deck as it hit 18 lands. I personally look at, do I want the land to fix my mana more or the spell more? In this case, I want the land that fixes my mana more, but then if my mana is good, I'm happy to cast this spell. I'm going to give this a C+. Like, I'm probably going to be happy first picking this card. Did I get it's right on the back. Alright, Priest of Titan, 1 green, 1 colorless. Elf Druid, tap for green for each elf on the battlefield. There's not a large elf theme. This is a fine mana dork, but I'd rather the 1/2 Death Toucher than this. This is like a D. Like, if you want a mana dork, it's fine, but I'd rather the common mana dork. There's no large elf theme, so we'll skip it. Oh boy, Emrakul, the world anew. This card will be for sale after this video. It is 12 colorless mana for legendary creature Eldrazi, a 12/12 flyer, and this is apparently a top-down imagining of Emrakul. When I cast the spell, gain control of all creatures target player controls, flying protection from spells and from permanents that were cast this turn. When Emrakul leaves the battlefield, sacrifice all creatures you control, so you steal your opponent's and then yours. And then Madness is pay 6 colorless. There's not great Madness enablers. 6 colorless is a lot to get to, even in this format with those lands, if you're able to Madness it. 12 mana is a lot to get to. For limited, this is like a D-. Like, only in the most grindy of grindy matchups would I side this in. But, like, if you get to 12 mana, you're going to win the game, but there's lots of spells at 8 mana that you're going to cast that's going to win the game. So this is like, you know what? I'm going to say it. If you're playing to win, it's an F. Just don't put it in. You probably can just win some other way. Alright. We got a foil, one of those contaminated lands. We got a mountain. We got a Spellgorger Weird. So, of these and the other lands, I am honestly putting it between these 3 cards. The Dryad, the Sphinx, and the double-sided land. I'm probably going to start with the double-sided land. If you're in one of those colors even, it's playable, it's a spell, like, it's going to make my deck. The upside isn't great, but the fact you're probably going to make it, and though the other 2 cards are good, I don't feel their upside is amazing either. So yeah, that's it. Thank you, comrades. This is Andre Agues Desjardins signing off.